It is the original Sailor Schoolgirl type from the days of Meteorot 1, setting the trend for other models behind her to follow. It is SLR00 Sailormate, with a kit of Shoot Boost, Gatling, Rifle, biped legs, and the leg ability of Trigger Happy, which buffs all leg stats minus armor and heavy limit for every critical hit scored by an equipped shooting attack. Now, as one of the base models available in Meteorot S pretty much since day one as a 2-star model, anyone playing for longer than, say, a week would probably have already seen at least one or two parts of her already, and while she may not seem like much at first glance, in a surprising turn of events, the original older model is actually more efficient at her job as an all-rounder shooter type than that of the upgrade in many strange instances. Shoot Boost is a support-based skill that, once activated, will buff the base damage of all equipped shooting base parts of herself and all allies by 50%. That means that any shooting parts that she herself has equipped or an ally will be dealing considerably more damage once that effect goes live. Gatling on the right arm is a conventional shooting skill that is also a scattered AoE, meaning it will damage one part normally and then two others at random at 1/3 additional damage. It is also worth noting that Gatling attacks also are known for having a naturally high base success stat, which means you really don't have to worry about them being dodged or grazed too much, but it also means they have a naturally high base likelihood of being critical hits on top of that. So even if the damage may be somewhat inconsistent in some points, it does mean it will be relatively painful once it lands. Rifle on the left arm is another conventional shooting skill that you can never ever go wrong with using, because it's an incredibly balanced skill that has wonderful rounded stats that pretty much make it fit anywhere in any situation, no matter how you choose to use it. And given that it's on a left arm, it does add for a rather interesting turn of events if you're looking for something with conventional damage. Biped legs means that she will have relatively solid coverage across all terrains, as arguably it's the most rounded leg type of all of them, and the Trigger Happy leg ability actually has incredible synergy with Sailormate's base kit between Gatling and Rifle, and not even considering Shoot Boost on top of that. Now, as mentioned, compared to Sailor Multi, which is the direct upgrade of the model, while she may be more user-friendly in terms of the kit that she has offered, Sailormate takes a much more aggressive approach with slightly higher base stats and a much better synergetic kit. With a hit HP of about 2800, arms about 2600 each, and the legs at 3200, she's packing a slightly higher than normal base HP pool you'd expect for a conventional female type. So even if she does have really light stats, it does mean that she will have a relatively solid time on the field without getting crippled or even killed. Base damage, as expected of a 2-star model, is certainly not high, with the Gatling at about 1039 and the Rifle at about 911 before any modifiers, but that still is actually notably about equal if not higher than what Sailor Multi comes packing. The leg stats, she's packing about 631 for mobility, which is kind of that nice little base zone that you want to stay in with mobility if you want to rely on heat and cool bonuses for the rest of your speed. A melee resist of 651 is unfortunately not super great though, but that is kind of expected, as it does mean that she certainly may not be able to hold her own when someone gets up in her space. But she is packing a shoot resist of 1264, which makes her much more resistant to that sniper trying to take pot shots from afar, and she can return to center with some of her own as well. And an evade of 996 isn't too shabby, not the highest there is, but in that nice little middle ground, essentially, if you want to put it that way. So she will have a moderately decent time dodging or grazing a lot of low success or blind attacks outside of anything else. All this being said, as a pure set score, I actually have to rate her pretty highly at about a 7.5 out of 10. And in some cases, especially like for new players that are just starting out and don't have a lot, I could even make arguments for 8 or maybe even 8.5 in some cases. Primarily because even though Sailor Multi, the newer model, may have a more user-friendly kit with radar sight instead of shoot boost, Sailormate's kit synergizes incredibly well with itself, between Shoot Boost working with Gatling and Rifle, and Trigger Happy already working very much so for shooting attacks as well, So for every crit she scores, she will progressively go just a little bit faster, be a little dodgy on the legs, or have just a little bit more resistance when taking blows, assuming she's not killed or crippled faster than she can score crits. As mixed parts, for these same reasons, I have to grant her an equal 7.5 out of 10, and once again, arguments can also be made for higher scores. Even though she can be moderately expensive to raise as a 2-star set, it certainly is very obvious and plain to see that sometimes the upgrade isn't the end-all be-all, and sometimes the older models may still have some pack and heat that make them better to hold their own when the push comes to shove.